Well, Michael, I wanted to begin by asking you to go back to the time when you were first diagnosed, that morning that you woke up, that you've written about in your memoir.
Well, the morning was actually a year before the diagnosis. I was doing a film in Florida and was partying pretty good and was used to waking up in not in great shape. But I woke up one morning and my pinky was twitching and it was just persistent. And I realized that it just there's nothing I could do to stop it. And it was actually this pinky. And I just say in my book, I thought, is this like DTs? Is this like who gets DTs in the pinky? And then one day I was jogging, and this is quite a while later, and I was jogging on the vineyard, and my wife, I was taking longer than I usually took to return home, and she came out to see what the problem was, and she said, you know, when you run, your arm's not moving. And so I went to a sports therapist, and he said to Tracy, he said to me, you should go to this neurologist, and then he talked to Tracy independently, he said, you should really make sure he goes to this neurologist. And then I went and just out of left field, he said it was onset Parkinson's, which is the last thing in the world I expected to hear.
And from that moment, tell me something about your decision to keep that tucked inside for as long as you felt you could.
When you get that diagnosis, it's so ambiguous. I mean, what is, especially to a 30-year-old man, what's Parkinson's? What is that to me? And again, it's a disease of lagging indicators. So by the time you get symptoms, by the time your pinky twitches, 80% of the cells are already gone. So that's a lot to take in. And the analogy I always use is, with a lot of injury, a lot of catastrophic illness or catastrophic injury, it's like stepping off a curb and getting hit by a bus, and you don't know what hit you, and then that's your reality. You deal with that reality going forward, successfully or unsuccessfully, however you do. But with something like Parkinson's, it's like actually being stuck in the middle of the road while the bus is coming, and you can hear it. You have no idea how big it is. You have no idea how fast it's going. You have no idea whether it's going to hit you all the way or just going to graze you and screw you up. But it's a lot to think about.
And do you remember a time when that happened, when you were at peace with the bus coming?
I read about in my book. There was a time I was talking to my therapist and I said, I said everything was great in my life and wonderful. My kids, my wife, my work was going well. I was getting increasingly symptomatic. It was very hard for me. But I said to her, I feel like I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop. And she said, you have Parkinson's. The shoe already dropped. And it was just this wow. I just went, wow, you're right. I mean, what are they going to do to me? It was this feeling that I'd been faced with a challenge. I'd met it and would continue to meet it. And I didn't need to further burden myself with the mechanics of obfuscation and trickery and the things that are required for a Parkinson's person to pass as a non-Parkinson's person. This was too much work, and I didn't need to do that anymore. And while I was incrementally getting toward that realization, it was that kind of final emotional realization that sealed it for me. That I just thought, well, I'm just going to go to the people that I work with, and by extension everybody else, and tell them. And it's kind of an interesting thing too, because I told People magazine and Barbara Walters, and now like tribesmen in the Kalahari I mean, it's like instantaneously everybody knows it's saturation, and you can't get that genie back in the bottle, and so it was a really interesting process.